Welcome, everyone, to episode 1 of Editorial, where we mix news and editorial cartoons to create what I call an editorial. I hope you'll find this entertaining and engaging, and remember, nothing is so serious that you can't poke a little fun at it. In future episodes, I will try to answer one or two of your comment questions in this section, but since this is our first episode, I will answer my wife's direct question. Hugh, why? Why are you doing this? So on the face of it, I just want to get my comics out there, and I have a little fun on YouTube doing it. On another level, there's a real serious problem with political discourse in this country. We are ripping ourselves apart as a society because we can't talk to one another without doing it in all caps, if you know what I mean. I know that many people are going to listen to my streams and see the cartoons and say, that's just another liberal elite who doesn't understand me. And maybe that's true, but I have an open mind, and it can be changed. And I hope you'll find my cartoon humor cuts across dogmas like that also. So it's my sincere hope that humor is the antidote, that being a little lighthearted here can open the dialogue, and that humor can get at the truth, because all good humor has a grain of truth to it, right? And speaking of truth, it's my opinion that truth is proven by factual evidence. Even that is fungible to some degree, but mostly true is true. It's not fair or balanced at all, like the famous TV station says. In fact, truth is by definition unfair and unbalanced. Truth is not on my side, and it's not on yours for that matter. And as a matter of the weight of facts that support it, truth is extremely unbalanced because there aren't any facts to disfavor it anymore. Yeah? So that's the way I look at it anyway. And lastly, I hope to build a community here that can discuss political matters in that way and perhaps be fair to each other, but definitely in favor of the truth. Okay, so getting to the story for this comic, you can come out from under your rock if you're not aware of the controversies surrounding President Trump and his alleged affairs and indiscretions with many women at this point. To that end, while investigating the Russian collusion matter, Special Counsel Robert Mueller referred an investigation into Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, to the SDNY, that's the South District of New York's Department of Justice, that involved some of the president's extramarital affairs. When the FBI investigated, they seized a lot of material, millions of documents apparently, and would seem to have Cohen dead to rights on multiple charges. So much so that the media and the president seem to think that Cohen is going to cut a deal and flip on the president. Because of that, Trump and Cohen and others like Avenatti and Giuliani, etc., have been waging a pretty public war in the media trying to discredit Cohen. The latest episode being that Cohen released a tape of him and the president discussing a conspiracy to catch and kill the Karen McDougal story with the National Enquirer just weeks before the 2016 election. Karen McDougal is a Playboy playmate that alleges a year-long affair with President Trump and was selling her story to the National Enquirer just before the election. The National Enquirer never printed the story, and McDougal alleges that her lawyer, Keith Davidson, and Cohen conspired with Trump and David Pecker, the CEO of the National Enquirer, to suppress the story. The tape features Trump and Cohen discussing the plans to pay David Pecker. Our friend David, as referred to in the tape, is thought to be David Pecker, and thus suppressing it. So that is the conspiracy in a nutshell. So, in a forest fire of hot political stories over the last 2 weeks, this one erupted to the surface. It clearly catches the president in several lies he's been telling over the last couple of years. It's undeniable to hear him in his own voice acknowledging the shady deals that he clearly knew all about. they're talking about the details of this arrangement in a precision that, is obvious that he knows all about the deal. The audio, also, it's got kind of like a mafia tone to it in that, they're untouchable. They're like sort of in their high tower, and above the law, and comfortable in a way that alludes to having done these kind of arrangements many times before. So the president is caught in a bald-faced lie and has been lying to the media and the American people, saying for the last 2 years that he knew nothing about this. So credibility sunk, you would think. Not that anyone had much belief in his truthfulness before this, but now you can actually, there's a demonstrable fact there. And I wonder how this and, there's a lot more tapes, how the subsequent tapes, what that's going to mean to his base, hearing him engaged in the things he's denied uh, over the last year. Does that change the base's estimation of the man? Historians have said that this is what actually did Nixon's presidency in. When the public actually heard Nixon, breaking the law, support for him just fell off the cliff. So there is some legal jeopardy here for the president too, which is probably the most serious effect of this matter. It's the consensus opinion that this would be a violation of campaign finance laws because the payment was not disclosed. Depending on whether one could prove willful intent to defraud or not, the penalty could range from a hefty fine, which is what happens in most cases, to a felony with up to 5 years in prison. And if it's true that there are 100 or so of these kinds of arrangements made during actually, just let me say that again. There's a rumor out there that there's more, there's 100 or so of these kinds of arrangements that were made during his campaign. So just imagine that for a second. So if that's true, then, this is clearly a felony because it is a pattern of covering this up and keeping it secret. And and obviously that's probably a lot of money that isn't disclosed. So maybe he can get away with one, but then also there's the Stormy Daniels affair that's in the public right now. So that's actually two out there, which makes this whole situation pretty serious. And also there's consequences for the National Enquirer here being part of this because um, the whole incident is probably bound to get David Pecker into some hot water with his board of shareholders because it clearly exceeds his duties making these kinds of arrangements for a friend, which does not benefit the company. The company is going to be put into ill repute here. And also, is there a willful fraud case here? So that's yet to be seen. That hasn't been charged yet, but keep an eye out for that. And, we'll see also how this affects Trump's presidency, the legacy, the legitimacy of his presidency, because, many people said they voted for him anyway. Maybe the media is discounting that more than people, but, um, they say they voted for him anyway, but, that was based on a tape that was more than a decade old. So, I kind of think some people just gave him the benefit of the doubt that he'd grown up a little, even though he's 70 years old. He was 60 years old when the Pussygate tape came out, so or happened. So, growing up, questionable, right? But this was a couple of extramarital affairs that happened, more recently, and uh, I wonder if that all adding up at the end of the campaign would have really, considering that, by estimates, the whole election just swung on some 70,000 votes too. So, I wonder if you could have survived that. And for me, it just, the whole incident itself kind of just, puts a frame around the nefariousness of his campaign. There's a real word, nefariousness. How nefarious his actual campaign was, you know? Like, I mean, it's starting it's looking pretty crooked, folks, right? So this seemed like a week that the pipes broke and the effluent just started pouring into the White House with the Helsinki fiasco with Putin and fights with our allies in Belgium and a finger in the Prime Minister of Great Britain's eye, Theresa May. And, just before that was Scott Pruitt resigning and all of those things, but that's another story. That's all of that in like less than a week. Um, so you get the feeling that uh, all of the misdeeds of this guy are just getting to be way too much. Like the dam is about to bust, and that there's a reckoning coming and it's right around the corner. Well, that's it for my first editorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments and also give me your questions in the comments for next week, and I'll try to answer one or two of those. Give me your feedback. It's really welcome. I want to know what you think and what you think I can do to improve. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up below. And if you want to see more, click subscribe and please ring the bell next to the subscribe so that you can get notifications when the next video is published. Also, I've added a link so you can check out my comic book channel too. And thanks for watching. Keep laughing and see you next time.